Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Point Leader 75. Today we're going to take a look at my latest edition of Crown, which in this case is the Crown Model 10. Also, this one is a slightly upgraded variant with a wider body and a little bit more air kit to keep it planted to the ground. It has a twin turbo V12 at 6.3 liters, producing about 1,300 horsepower plus, with a 1,500 newton meters of torque. It's all-wheel drive, and let's get it started and see what it can do. I'm also going to cover the other Model 10 as well in this video. The one with inline 4-cylinder, producing 615 horsepower. Now this car is pretty heavy, both of them are. This one weighs 1,709 kilos, so pretty much 1.7 ton. So it's quite heavy for what it is. So you have to really be mindful about the braking distance, as you do reach pretty good speeds now and then. First lap is just a feel for the car, warming things up. This one has ceramic brakes, so they do require a little bit of a warming up anyways to really perform. That's the downside having ceramic brakes. It's a power distribution of 65% on the rear and 35% on the front, so you do have a feel for a more rear-wheel drive car with this, and that's just to be able to give some throttle out of the corners quite early to get around the corners. And I think I lost something there. It is quite low in the front, so you definitely want to be careful not to lose the front spoiler. But for this track we're really not developing any downforce anyway, so we should be fine. It's all about the grip here from the tires themselves. I think this is going to be a pretty decent time. Yeah, 113, and it's definitely up with the big boys. Let's have a look at the single lap, and it's on 4th place. I reckon I probably did 113 on the 3rd position as well with this car earlier as I was testing it, but yeah, there you have it. It's a pretty competent car for sure. Alright, next up is going to be the slightly less powerful model, which is a rear-wheel drive, so that's coming up next. Alright, so this one is the less powerful one, with the inline 4-cylinder at 2.5 liters with a single turbo, but it produces as much as 612 horsepower and 600 newton meters of torque flat, so it's a pretty powerful car as well. It does not have the same body width, but it's more than enough for the low end or the level entry sort of ish car. So let's start it up and see how this one performs. And it has a single exhaust as opposed to the other one with a dual exhaust. and the magic happens above 5,000 RPM. Anything below that and the car pretty much drives like any other normal car on the road. But you do have to be mindful about the sudden explosion of force past 5,000 RPM. Same with this car, you do want to warm it up a little bit, although this one does not have ceramic brakes, so they don't tend to need to warm up as much. Alright, so that's the rear wheel drive. Let's try it again and not screw it up. This has an acceleration of from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 4.5 seconds. The other one has a acceleration of 2.4 seconds, so it's quite a big difference there, but it's very much due to the all-wheel drive system in that thing as well. You do get the grip down to the ground much more easily with that one, but this one is definitely has a lot of play into it as well. It is a wheel drive, so you can play around with it if you so choose to do that. So this is just the first lap. I'm just getting the feel of the car again, because coming from the other one it's quite a big difference. This one is a bit more balanced because of the more normal size engine, so it's almost 50-50 distribution, and you can definitely tell, which is very much needed as well, since you are driving on a rear-wheel drive with 600 horsepower. You definitely want to have that balance. Best tip here is to try to stay as close to 5,000 RPM, just to get that extra power that you need, especially on the track. Not necessarily on the road, but on the track it's pretty important to manage your RPMs. This one also has quite a low ride height, so you definitely want to be mindful about dips and bumps. That should be a decent time. Yeah, about 121. I think the best one I did with this car was 118. It's obviously not supposed to be a record run this time, but it's just a showcase of what the car can do and what it sounds like. Alright, so heading over to the Italy map, and I'll do a half-length test drive with both cars. I'll see you there shortly. Alright, so welcome to Italy, and we are up in the castle, in the castle yard to be precise, and I have both cars lined up. We are going to do a small little showcase as to what they can do on normal road conditions. As you can see, the difference here is really that the Miami Blue extreme version of it has slight different bumper to the front to give it some more aerodynamic benefits, same as some wing flares and some other neat stuff, and it doesn't come with a sunroof either, so or glass roof. Slightly different bumper to the rear as well, and It has actually smaller rims just to accommodate for the lower ground clearance. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's start with the white one, which is the 4-cylinder variant. Let's start it up, and let's pull out from this parking lot. See if we can do that without damaging the car. It's quite low here, so we're gonna park the cars in the next town. So it's gonna be a little bit of a downhill and then a little bit of a highway, and then we're gonna head up on the next town, and that's where I'm gonna park the cars, and that's gonna conclude the showcases for both of them. So it's sort of half lengths of what I normally otherwise do. So this one is the rear-wheel drive one. Its power band is from 4,000 RPM to 7,300, but the real action starts around 5,000 RPM. So you really got to pay attention to your RPMs if you're gonna go really aggressive with it. And put the mouse cursor out of the way. There we go. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this car has a almost perfect balance of 50-50. I think it differs some 2 or 3% only. But given that it is rear-wheel drive, it's pretty important to have that balance. Also, this car is quite heavy. It's the 1,710, I think, kilos. So it's about a kilo heavier than the other one. And it doesn't have any ceramic brakes either, so these brakes really respond right away from start, even from a cold start. But as with everything, it's always good to warm things up. And always watch out for those pendulum effect, braking especially downhills just before a turn. So this one tops out at about 250 kilometers an hour, or actually 300 kilometers an hour, but it's restricted. It is struggling at the end to reach its top speed, so it's probably a good restriction anyways, to get the best out of it, coming from the gearbox spacing and the finer drive and all that stuff. About to head up on the highway soon. And the highway should be coming up after the roundabout ahead. And as with all my cars, they are developed with force feedback steering wheel in mind. So I have no idea how they would drive using a keyboard or a gamepad for that matter, but should be okay. But like I said, I have no idea. These cars are really fine at driving on the highway. The only thing is that when you're driving on a highway, it's not like driving on a racetrack, because you usually come up into these seamlessly easy corners, but you have a speed, you carry a lot more speed than you usually do on the track coming into corners. So expect a bit of slide sideways. So always accommodate for it. Turn in as early as you dare and then stick on it. Try to find a good RPM or rev on the engine to be able to stabilize your car through the corners with a little bit of a throttle. And these cars can definitely turn more than what is good for them, so make sure you don't overturn them. That'll just have them going straight forward in the corners. Alright, so this is going to be our parking spot to the right there. And let's switch over to the other one. I'm going to park the car right about here. Put it in park and shut down the engine. Alright, let's switch over to the other one. See how this goes. Well, let's start it up. Completely different ball game here. This is the V12, so, and a bit more issues when it comes to the front splitter hitting the ground if you're not careful. Still a road car. I mean, that's at least what I had in mind, because even for the width of the rear spoiler and all that stuff is within the limitations of what's considered road legal. So in theory this car is as well a road legal car. It's just that I wouldn't maybe use it for a daily drive, but you could probably. I mean, it has a trunk and all that stuff. But what it doesn't have compared to the other one is a back seat. That one, or the rear seat, is removed. Nice thing with this car is that you can be pretty early on the throttle, but you really have to be careful, because it does get up to speeds way too fast for these roads if you're not careful. Power distribution is at 63% rear, and I think it was 63%, something like that. It's more towards the rear anyways. I'll have all the car specs down below in the description regardless. And also a link. Okay, we're gonna reset that a little bit. And also a link to where you can download the cars from BeamNG resources. This car is quite balanced as well. It's and there we go. I'm really not focusing here, but yeah, it's quite balanced, this car as well, with about 2-3% more towards the front due to the heavier engine. But you can definitely tell that it's balanced enough to be drivable. It tends to understeer a little bit more, but just give it some throttle when you can, and you'll shoot out of the corners pretty fast. Now, given that you still have all the spoilers intact and all that stuff, this car is pretty handful on the highways. As you can see, we're already doing past 260. And see if we can do the corner. Yeah, we could, just barely. With a little bit more cornering, and we should be able to reach far more speeds than that. And just about 300 before the tunnel here. We gotta be careful here. Doing almost 200 kilometers an hour through that corner, which also has a little bit of a dip to it. It's pretty impressive. Coming up towards a little bit village, and we're going to be parking the car right behind the 4-cylinder variant. So that pretty much concludes the showcase of the two Model 10 variants, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and also hit the like, thumbs up, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.